All right, be sure to click on the blog. That way you can get a better and a more in-depth explanation of the post for the Young Black Kings. Like I said, I present stuff a lot better when I have time to sit down and write it out, which would be the blog aspect versus doing a video. I'm going off the top of my head. So make sure you click on the blog in the description after you watch the video. Um, this one is for the Young Black Kings. I'm coming to you from a standpoint of a brotherly figure, mentor role, fatherly figure, an adult role. This is definitely directed towards the younger age group of young men. If you're in college or if you're an adult man, it can apply to you as well. But this is mainly geared towards the younger generation. Um, I call you. I'm going to reference. I gotta reference certain things in the blog because there's a lot of important stuff, and I want to make sure I don't skip over too much. Just trying to go based on my memory. So some of it is going to be read out, and I'm gonna try to summarize some of it. But as far as for the Young Black Kings, I call you a Young Black King because you still at a young age you still are deserving of that title, more so if you're moving in that way. But being that you're young, you're still learning on how to operate as a young man, so on and so forth. There are some adult men that don't deserve that title as a black king because they don't operate as that. That being said, you being young and having that title, you got to make sure that you are doing what's necessary to remain held in that regard as a young black king. Um, that's why I call this video, Young Black Kings. Um, let's see, just a couple aspects of a black king. Let's see, a black king is confident in himself and is making righteous moves, and the opinions of others isn't justified. The opinions of others does not matter. I'm skipping lines. Black king um, leads by example. A black king doesn't follow what everybody else is doing, more so if it's something that he knows is wrong. A black king doesn't allow, you know, wrongdoing to take place in his presence. So he's not affected by peer pressure or go along with the crowd. So his friends or his homeboys, if they're doing wrong, a young black king is gonna make sure he get his friends and homeboys on the right path. Ultimately you can't control people, but to be an influence, to be a positive influence for your friends and the younger generation that's looking up to you, that's very important. That's something you got to keep in mind. Don't be influenced by what everybody else is doing. And this one is hitting close to home because obviously I was once, that young black king. Now being an adult black king, it hits home because I was once you. So I can speak on a lot of different stuff that I've experienced personally. I had friends that were involved in so many other different things, and me being the person that I was, I stood alone. Like I'm that type of person to the core, to where I was never really affected by peer pressure. I wanted to stand alone. I wanted to be respected based on my individual self, not because I ran with a crowd or whatever the case may have been. I wanted to be respected as a young man and as an individual. So you don't have to be influenced or feel as if you got to follow the pack, especially if they doing wrongdoing. Now, if they doing right, by all means, y'all get together, you know, and build that way. But as far as following any type of negativity, you can't be influenced in that way. And I know the media is geared to attack your young mind frame because it shows you the rappers and the athletes and famous people, so on and so forth. And a lot of times, rap wise is glorifying dumb stuff, and you're being influenced by it. So you got to keep an eye on that, as far as not trying your best not to be influenced by that type of stuff, and knowing that that is a weapon that's being used against you. So the world knows, you know, your divine power as a young man, later becoming a man. That masculinity that you have, that's going to be the essence of you being a man. The world knows your capability. So the media, and which is a part of the world, is going to try to attack that and to make sure you never tap into that about yourself. So it's going to show you the athletes and so on and so forth. And with the sports aspect, I know for myself that was all we were taught, sports. Where I'm from, I don't know about now, but where I'm from, it was sports or nothing. Academics didn't even matter, and that's sad to say. From a community standpoint, academics did not matter. It was strictly sports, and more specifically, it was football. And so coming up as a young man, that's all we taught, so that's all we know is sports. Well, now being older, and luckily I went through, you know, the things that I went through to where my senior year, sports kind of went downhill for me. I stopped playing football. I stuck with basketball, but at that time, football was the thing that I was worried about. But it was unfortunate but fortunate at the same time, because it happened at an early age to where I still had time to figure out what my next steps were. So all that to say, I know it's coming up from young men. Sports is going to be engraved in your head, and that's something that's like I said, that's pushed. But you got to have a plan B, plan C, plan D, so on and so forth, because sports is not, you're so much more than just an athlete. You're so much more than entertainment. We're not entertainment for people, and that's what we're being used for. We're so much more than that. Like, we have a divine essence about us that we're not even tapping into. So so even if sports is something that you like to do, it's okay if you like to do it, but don't let that be your only avenue of something that you're good at. You have to start incorporating different things. Find different stuff that you like to do. If that's from fixing cars to you know, being good with your hands as far as a handyman, doctor, you know, engineer, what entrepreneur, whatever it is, you have to get your hands in multiple things other than just one thing, and that one thing being sports. All right, so keep that in mind as you're getting older. I kind of went off on a tangent on that, but like I said, I was once a young man, so I understand, you know, a lot of the programming that goes along with it, and a lot of the things that you're going to experience. With that being said, I'm going to do another quote from the blog. Let's see. You are more than the criminal or the thug this world tries to make you think that you are. This world hates you and everything you represent, because it knows what you could amount to if you really stepped into the role as a black king. Let's see. I already touched on the athlete part. Let's see. This is something that's very important. And it kind of goes along with, in a sense, it kind of goes along with the music, how it's influencing the younger generation of men, all this violence that it's promoting, and so on and so forth. This is a quote from the blog. Understand that your mind is the greatest weapon, not your hands, not a gun, your mind. All right. So that's another reason why this psychological warfare is going on with you. Because, like I stated, the world knows that if you tapped into what you really are from a spiritual standpoint, it's nothing nobody could do to stop that. You are the most feared entity, or one of them, because I don't want to say the women aren't, but you are one of the most feared entities on this planet. There's no other man, I can definitely say that, not Xing out the woman, but as far as from a man's standpoint, there's no other man that's more feared than the black man, but it's because of our ability. Now, we have to tap into that. If we don't tap into it, the same things are going to continue to happen that's happening right now. Let's see. Another thing that I mentioned, and this goes with that, you were created with a divine protective warrior spirit and energy that, of course, what I just said, makes you the most feared and powerful man on this planet, young black king. Let's see. But like I said, none of that matters if you don't embrace that and tap into it and do the things that you need to do to bring that divine energy out of you. Because if you're influenced by this music and you're out here doing Lord knows what because your friends are doing it, or because you think it's cool, or whatever the case may be, you're not going to, not at the time of you doing things that you should, you're not going to tap into it. And by the time you possibly tap into it, it's probably too late. And now it's the next generation's time to try to get changed. So that's why I'm making this video directed towards you, because we as the older generation, our time has really gone by. So now it's up to y'all as the young black kings. It's up to y'all to make sure certain things get changed, because if you don't, as we see from history, things haven't changed yet. So somebody has to step up and start doing that. And we as the older generation, we got to start looking at y'all as the young kings to be able to do that. Because like I said, a lot of us are stuck in our ways, and a good majority of us, our time is already passed as far as making that change. But the last aspect I'll talk about is in regards to the young girls, young women. If you're at the appropriate age, and this is that's a topic, you definitely need to understand, you got to respect the young queens. All right, we're one of our divine purposes is to protect our young queens, young black queens later becoming black queens as far as being a woman. That's one of our divine purposes, is to protect them. We cannot do that by being one of the aspects that's showing them disrespect and mistreating them and so on and so forth, calling them out the name and all other type of stuff. I know it's been made to seem cool because of the music and so on and so forth, but you can't move like that. Young black kings should not move in that aspect. And the way that I've operated all my life is I looked at young women and women the same way that I viewed my mom. Let me make sure I'm still recording. Yep. The same way I viewed my mom is the same respect that I was going to give towards women, young girls when I was young, period. Regardless if they acted as a young queen or not, I was still going to treat them with the same respect as my mama taught me, or as I would, treat my mom. Because I'm looking at it, if I treat these girls any certain type of way or whatever the case is, I'm spitting in my mom's face. So that's how I viewed it. And I think if we start looking at that, whether it's your mom, your grandmother, your sister, you got to look at it as you wouldn't want a man or a young man or whatever the case is treating the women in your life any certain type of way. So you shouldn't do it to the young girls. So you definitely got to give that respect to them on the divine level and protect them. Do not bring any harm to them. Make sure no harm is brought to them from anybody. So that's pretty much the gist of it. Like I said, make sure you go read the blog, because there's a lot of stuff that I had to skip over just to make sure that the video wasn't too long. But go check the blog out. Leave your comments and whatever else that there may be. But I appreciate everybody for watching.